is up? Welcome to another video. This one's going to be a little different. We're going to chat a little bit. I figured most people who watch my YouTube and follow me on social media probably don't know that I have narcolepsy and probably don't understand or realize like how much it affects me and my family's daily life with kids and just scheduling and day-to-day operations and all this stuff. So I figured I would do a video to answer some common questions and to really help you and encourage anyone who might see this and have narcolepsy or might know someone who has the condition, like how to help them, but then also encourage you if you have the condition that life is possible, a good quality of life is possible. It just comes differently than what other people's life might look like, and that's okay. So we're gonna go through some questions. What is narcolepsy? If you think about epilepsy, it is a brain condition similar to epilepsy. Now, epilepsy, people who have that condition have seizures. Narcolepsy is a part in the same part of the brain, but we don't have seizures. We have what's called sleep attacks. So people with epilepsy can actually they know beforehand when they're gonna have a seizure. It's the same way for us. We know beforehand when we're gonna fall asleep. And there's been movies and TV shows that have had characters that have narcolepsy in them, and I don't feel like they portray the condition very well, because there was this one show where the guy just literally randomly falls asleep, out of nowhere. He'll be mid-sentence or doing something mid-action, and that's not really realistic with the condition. If you think about it, you have what are called active verbs and you have passive verbs. So whenever we're in active verbs like talking or walking or running or really hands-on stuff, cooking, we're not gonna fall asleep. We are in the active, and so we're pretty much good to go, but we can sense hey, I'm getting tired, I need to sit down, I need to take a nap. If you are ever in the passive, which is listening or driving or things like that, watching TV, you 9 times out of 10, if you are tired, you will fall asleep, and you might not even realize when you fall asleep, but you will fall asleep. And so this causes I don't want to say restrictions, but it just causes you to live a life that's kind of differently than everyone else, and it's okay. So we pretty much have a sleep disorder. Our brain doesn't know how to properly put us to sleep and keep us asleep and give us the good quality of sleep that you really need to have a good rest at night and to stay awake all throughout the day. Very few times do we fall into deep sleep, so our quality of sleep is not the best, and that's why throughout the day we're tired, and our brain also can't regulate our sleep, so it doesn't know how to keep us awake. So that's also why throughout the day we tend to fall asleep. What pretty much happened was my junior year of high school, we found out in spring semester, February was the exact month, we found out that my mom had cheated on my dad. They went through the process of restoring their marriage, but the trauma and just the emotional heartbreak and your family falling apart and just a lot of unknowns really affected my brother and I in different ways. And he has his own testimony and his own struggles, and I have mine. And so this was just a struggle that happened pretty much after that month. We didn't know it at the time, but we started seeing signs of this condition worsening and happening. And for a while, we just thought, she's busy, she's in sports, she's in school activities, she's just sleeping all the time throughout the day because of how busy we are with school activities and sports and stuff. And so we really didn't think much about it. And then I was in track, and it was off season, and we were doing some sprint drills, and my coach, I'm a senior at this point, and I remember my coach yelled at me because my times were slower, and he called me lazy. And he said, there's this thing called senioritis. And he basically said, you're not done yet, you're not graduated yet, all this stuff. I would have liked the situation to have been handled differently. I didn't know what was going on with my body, but I knew something wasn't right. I'm battling with all that. Family life sucks at home. And now my coach is telling me that I am lazy and I'm not giving it my all. And I really would have liked, so just tidbit if you're a coach, I really would have liked for them to have pulled me to the side and asked like, hey, is everything okay? Like, I've been noticing that your times are slower. I just want to make sure you're good. This isn't like you. Like, they knew me for the past 3 to 4 years. This wasn't a coach that I was super close with, but I just wish the situation was handled differently. So it was handled kind of poorly. And I went home crying to my mom, and this was in January, and I was like, something's wrong, Mom. Like, I can't laugh without my knees buckling and me almost falling to the ground. I sleep literally all the time. I'm getting terrible sleep at night. So I'm gaining weight. This is also another thing that has to do with the condition is your metabolism sucks because your sleep sucks. And so you tend to gain weight whether you want to or not, because of the condition. And so I went to my mom and I was like, we have to go to the doctor. Like, something's wrong. So we ended up having an appointment. I get referred to a neurologist, which studies the brain, and I do a sleep test. And it was this thing that they have like a bunch of wires hooked up to your brain, and they make you sleep and they see like what's going on in the brain. And my neurologist is from Dallas, and he pretty much told me like, you aced the sleep study. And that's not good, by the way. And for the first time, I actually had someone where I would explain what was going on and they could communicate like, this is why. And they understood what I was going through and why it was happening to my body, and they explained what was going on. And for the first time, it was really nice because for the first time I felt like, I'm not crazy. And going back to just the sports with track and stuff, I work really hard. So I think the reason it hurt my feelings so bad was because a part of me was like, do you not know me? Like, do you not know me as an athlete? Like, I'm not lazy, like, I'm going to try my best. I might not be the best, but I'm going to try my best. And so for the first time, I actually had someone who could advocate for like, hey, like, yeah, you're trying your best, but this is what's going on with your body. And we ended up, he ended up telling me about some medicine that I could take to help. And it was new and it was risky. The drug had so much salt in it. So it was a liquid and it had so much sodium in it that I ended up having to go on a low to no salt diet. So pretty much changing my complete diet, guys. I mean, this was, me just like retelling this was a lot of character development. Okay. The verse that talks about God uses everything for good and for his glory is so true, because the things that I'm telling you, the narcolepsy, the diet, really like refined my character. It was like, you go on this strict diet or you cause other health problems later on in life. And it was like, well, I don't want to cause other health problems later on in life. So I'm going to go on this strict diet. I couldn't eat fast food. I had to cook all my meals from home. Basically everything I knew that I could eat, I could no longer eat. No frozen pizzas, no like all the sauces, like spaghetti sauce had to be homemade. It was just completely different. You can't use salt to season your food. You got to figure out something else. Like so much of what I ate, I could no longer eat anymore because we consume so much sodium and salt in our society. And so I had to completely wipe that out and start over. And on top of that, the medicine had super bad side effects. Y'all, my body felt terrible. I ended up having like a sweating problem. So I would sweat profusely because of a side effect of the medicine. This is also crazy. The medicine blocked my signal for hunger and if I was full. So I would literally feel content all the time. I could not tell when I was hungry and I could not tell when I was full. Crazy, weirdest feeling ever. But a lot of people would be like, oh my gosh, that'd be so great. Guys, I lost so much weight. I literally went anorexic. I'm sure people thought I like had an eating disorder. No, your girl didn't have an eating disorder. Your girl was just taking medicine that couldn't. And y'all have to think, for 17, 18 years of my life, I eat based on a sensation in my stomach. I eat based on, okay, am I hungry right now? I'm gonna eat. Okay, am I full? I'm gonna stop eating. Now that's gone. That's completely gone. And I have to uproot everything that I know, all the food that I know, all the how I eat. And now I have to figure out, like, when do I eat? How much do I eat? Is this portion too small? Is this portion too big? Like, I could not tell. And so I ended up losing a ton of weight, getting down to my lowest I've ever been, which was 119. I started getting good sleep and I started losing weight. And so I got faster and I could jump and I could jump higher. So that was the only plus to all that. But it was not intentional. So I went on this super strict diet and I ended up doing really good in athletics. So that was like, I guess, the one positive in what was going on in my life then. And if anyone who has a condition and starts medication, like, it's just hard. And I think the best thing that you can do as a friend or as a parent or just someone who knows a person who's going through that is just every day wake up and just encourage them. Like, it's gonna get better. Like, you can do this. The medicine I took tasted awful. I remember there were so many nights I didn't want to take it because it tasted terrible. I mean, I was drinking salt water. There was so much salt in it. I was drinking salt water. And what it did to my body felt terrible. It was not fun. I got dry mouth because of that medicine. I still to this day have dry mouth, so I constantly have water with me everywhere I go. There are just so many variables. The sweating problem was just terrible. I had to get a whole new wardrobe of clothes because I couldn't wear clothes close to my armpit because I'd get an armpit stain, and it was just horrible. So that's how I got diagnosed. I got diagnosed my senior year. I actually got diagnosed an exact year. February of 2017 is when I got diagnosed. And that's an exact year from when when we found out about her affair. And so pretty much what my doctor said was that the trauma from my mom caused my body to attack itself and caused the condition. And he pretty much said that it was trauma-based, and which, I mean, kind of makes sense, you know. So fast forward to now I'm going to college. I ended up having to eat on based on time and based on serving sizes. And so I would figure out, okay, how much am I burning? And then how much do I need to eat based on that? And then pretty much every 4 to 5 hours, I would make sure I would have like a meal or a snack or something. And that's pretty much how I ate for up until I had our first baby. And that was my life. And I will say, one of the questions is, what have I learned from having the condition? And something that really I had to force myself to do was live on routines. So in order for the medicine to work and in order for me to have, to this day, the best quality of life, I have to live on a routine. And if you've ever been with me when I'm not on my routine, so something changes or we go on vacation or I have a baby or basically my routine gets off, you will notice I am asleep 90% of the day because my body feeds on routine and it does its best on routine. Now, where am I at today? So I am not on any medication. I couldn't be on the medication getting pregnant, during pregnancy, and breastfeeding, and I'm currently breastfeeding. So I'm not on the medication. I have thought about getting back on it in a year or so, just because I cannot drive. And that might sound crazy, but because I have the condition so bad, I'm not allowed to drive because I will fall asleep. Yeah, so let's go to driving. So a question is, have you ever like dozed off or fallen asleep while driving? Yes, and this happened twice during college. So my grandparents lived about 40 miles from the college that I went to in a different town. And so both times I'm driving from their house back to college, and it was on this windy, pretty much 2-lane road. Not much going on, in the middle of nowhere. And the first time I was driving, it's pretty funny, but the first time I was driving, when I fall asleep, I start speeding because my foot gets heavy on the pedal. And so I started speeding because I was dozing off, so my foot got heavy. And we were on a turn, and I remember exactly, there was a state trooper coming from the other direction at me on the turn, and he flashed his lights. And when he flashed his lights, it caught my attention, and I woke up. Like, I was like dozing off, you know, when you're like dozing off. I was dozing off, so my eyes were kind of awake, and he flashed his lights, and I saw him, and it woke me up. And then I'm like, oh crap, I'm speeding. And then I'm like, oh crap, I have to pull over. So I pull over, and the officer gets out, and I'm just thinking in my head, oh, Carly, like, I don't really want a ticket because I wasn't meaning to speed, and I was falling asleep, but I don't want to tell him I was falling asleep, and I have this condition and all this stuff. And so he comes to the window, and all he says is, he says, ma'am, he says, the speed limit in Arkansas is 55, slow down. And to give you context, I was from Texas, and I had Texas license plates on my car, and if you know, Texas speed limits are typically a lot faster than Arkansas's. And so I was so grateful he just gave me a warning and was like, slow down. And yeah, I just didn't want to take it. And so that was the first time. The second time was a little more scarier. Those were like the only two big times where I've like been falling asleep driving. When I'm on medicine, I have a range. So I don't have unlimited driving access. I pretty much have 30 to 40 minutes. An hour max is my driving max. And so to some people that is crazy. To me, it hasn't really been a big deal. I'm not like a super driver. I like being in the passenger seat, and I've had it for so long. It's just not like a big deal. I will say, with having kids and being stuck at home, like now I'm starting to see the restrictions of it, because like we just can't go to the pool, or we just can't go to this, or I just can't go to Walmart. Like, we have to plan that as a family, and usually we plan it together. Like, we went yesterday together as a family after church, or Briston will go and pick it up. And I will say, to the spouse of the person who's marrying the person with narcolepsy, it does put a lot of pressure on you. I mean, Briston is always thinking about, okay, like, are you gonna fall asleep if you're feeding Carson? Are you gonna fall asleep if Riley's playing? Like, we have a small inflatable pool. Are you gonna fall asleep if you're out there playing with her? Like, you have to think about these things because it can be very dangerous when it involves other people. And so you just have to kind of set up your life, and you have to set up parameters and boundaries based on what you know. And I will say, I used to fight it so bad. I used to fight having to take a nap. That's one thing that, going back to routines, like, I want to go to bed at a certain time. I want to wake up at a certain time, even if it's Saturday. Why? Because my body functions best when I'm on that routine. I always take a nap before or after lunch. Like, there's no negotiating that. That is what I have to do. In the evenings after dinner, I typically am so exhausted and so tired. If I sit down, I'm gonna fall asleep. Like, I used to fight that stuff so bad. I used to fight having to take a nap after lunch. I used to fight just different driving. Like, I would fight falling asleep. And now I've just gotten to the point to where I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't need to fight this. Like, this is where I'm at. I have people in my life who love me, who are going to accommodate for my needs, so that way I'll stay safe. And that's another thing too. Like, if you're a friend or if you're a family member of someone who has narcolepsy, it's a lot of service. It's a lot of giving. If you know of anyone who has a condition or a disability, like, you have to give yourself inconveniently sometimes for their safety. I mean, there have been countless times where I have had family had to come and drive here to drive me somewhere to meet other family when, you know, everyone else is like, oh, I'll just go drive. Like, I just can't drive to my parents' house. You know, Briston has to take me, or my parents come down to my grandparents and Briston takes me to my grandparents. Like, you have to work it out, and it's just, you don't realize how much it affects your life until you're in it. So yeah, that's pretty much like the questionnaire that I wanted to give. Moving forward, I will say that I'm not upset about this. This hasn't made my life miserable. It's just made it different, and that's okay. And so, you know, if you're just diagnosed with narcolepsy, just know, like, you're going to be okay. You're going to figure out a new normal. You're going to figure out a new routine. Routines are your best friend. Go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, take naps at the same time. Like, routines are really your best friend. That's the biggest advice that I would give you. And don't try to overdo it. I remember my mom specifically saying, like, you cannot help people unless you put your health first. And that's also another thing, guys. Working out surprisingly helps. It helps. I mean, yes, it makes you tired, but it helps the condition. On days that I don't work out, I feel so sluggish, so fatigued. I just hate it. And that's why I like working out in the mornings, because it gets me up, it gets me awake. The last thing I want to say, I'm not super knowledgeable about this, but I'm growing in it. Certain foods are going to make you more tired and more fatigued than other foods. So keep that in mind, okay? So like mac and cheese, or like heavy pasta foods and just heavy foods in general are going to make you tired. And so maybe try to eat foods that give you energy and that aren't going to make you sluggish and tired. And you're going to have to find that out. But I'm figuring that out right now, because I want to show up best for my family and for my kids. And I'm figuring out that some foods help with that, and some foods make me want to crash and burn and take a nap. So, but I hope this questionnaire was helpful. In the comments, if you have any other questions about it, just let me know, because I would love to share any tips or advice or experience or stuff that happened, you know, about the condition. And I will say too, this is the last thing I'm going to say, which I might have Briston on about the condition. You know, when Briston and I were dating, he didn't really see a lot of like the condition and stuff. I mean, he saw it sometimes, but not near as much as he does now that we live together and are married. And so take that into consideration too. You really don't know like someone's life and struggles and what they're going through until you're like in it with them. And he just says like he realizes now like how much it affects our life, because at first he was just like, oh, she has this condition, you know, no big deal. Now it's like, oh no, she has this condition, like this is what we got to do about it. So just take that into consideration. I might go get some breakfast though, but thanks for chatting with me, and I'll see y'all in a minute.